Buenos dias, Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Like a smack addict, right? And as you can tell by that thumbnail right there, woof, Bulldogs, right? I'm going to tell you a story about some dogs, right? Because not all dogs go to fucking heaven. Watch out. Well, maybe some do. But in a menudo style and direct fashion, we're going to speak on the real. And I'm going to tell you guys a story that plays an intricate part into what the Bulldogs had going on in the 90s, late 90s, and I would say the 2000s, you know. It could still be going on for all I fucking know. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a perro. I'm not there. I'm not in their mix. But what I do know is factual and actual. It's real talk from a real motherfucker, you know what I mean? For the people, by the people, and in that fashion. So trip out, Fresno Bulldogs. Like I said, a very well-established organization, been around for a long time, against the grain, rogue characters, kind of do their thing. They don't have no shot callers. They don't answer to nobody. They don't have no constitution, no reglas, no nada, right? Basically, they're going to do what they want, when they want, and however the fuck they want. So help them God. They're perros, right? Bulldogs. And, you know, at one point in time, you know, they were part of the NF. The F-14ers was a big faction, you know, a big faction in Fresno. And somewhere along the line, they broke off. You know, they felt that if for no other reason, they should go solo bolo and do it like a cholo and do their thing. And that's cool. That's all fine and dandy. And, you know, it's all about people tend to do and have the reasoning behind what they're going to do because they want to do. So, hey, we don't want to be part of you babosos anymore. And why is that? Because we don't, hey, I'm tired of giving 30%. I need all my sopitas and in that fashion, right? And whatever the case may be, man, they chose to go their route. Okay, but not a lot of factions hang on. Do you understand? There's a lot of people that start gangs. There's a lot of group organizations that come up and then go back down. You know, you've had the Black Panthers, man. At one point in time, they were a very dangerous organization, very well-laced, you know, out of Oakland. They were doing their thing. Of course, there was Black Panthers in New York, Baltimore, all over the world. And now they're gone. You know, they fell off. So even the mighty can fall, you know, and that's usually what happens. But in this world, man, it's a big old merry-go-round, a big old fucking circle. And what goes up must come down. And then the next vatos are on their way up. You know what I mean? They be coming around the mountains when they come. Orale, oh boy, right? They're going to get there. However they get there. If it's a fucking bike, a hovercraft, fucking, you know, they're going to put a flux capacitor into a DeLorean. And great Scots, get there. Don't matter, man. Motherfuckers are trying to rise to the top. But the Bulldogs have been around. You know, the Bulldogs have been around since this organization broke off from the Nuestra Familia and from the Norteños in general. They've continued, right? But there's been plenty of gente that have tried to tear them down, right? And this story is based on that. You know, of course, they're lifelong enemies with the Norteños. And it's funny because even back when it first happened, you know, I was there in Nellis and we were told, you know, the Bulldogs were they weren't part of the collective anymore. They weren't part of the faction. And it was on like Donkey and Dinky Kong. But we were just trying to throw barrels at them. And back and forth, you know, it went. I'm not going to say we had the upper hand or they had the upper hand. It just depended on the fucking, yeah, the wind's blowing that way. You know what I mean? It just depended on how the fucking wind blew that day. And that's just what it was. But at the same time, they were righteous individuals that carried their own. But in the city of Fresno, you know, because prison is one thing, CYA is one thing, jail is another thing, the yardas are one thing. And these vatos fit in, they got in where they fit in. You know, if the Sureños were deep, so watch out. They were over here, right? They was over here kicking with Sureños. Now, they were always established as Bulldogs, but they had love. And then if the Norteños were deep, sometimes they'd slide over like XIV to eternity. You know what I mean? They were able to be chameleons and wiggle. But for the most part, man, most of them were just on their dog shit and they got down. Bow wow wow. Yippee yo yippee what? Right? Did their thing. But look, in the city of Fresno, that's predominantly Fresno Bulldogs. You do have Fresno Norteños out of the west side and the north side. You do have Sureños in the surrounding areas as well as Fresno County and the city of Fresno, quietly as it's kept. Not predominant, not as much, but they do have numbers in some cases. But the number one adversary of the Bulldogs was not the North, was not the South. Wasn't even themselves, you know, because internally you're going to have confliction with Callaway and Bond Street or Lewis Street and College and Pleasant and Chandler and whatever the case may be, man, you're going to have internal confliction. Not everybody gets along. There's different cliques and fuck that puto over there on Bond. You know what I mean? I don't like him, vato. The number one adversary of the Bulldogs was the Fresno Police Department. Oh, yes, indeed. And they actually started a task force specifically aimed at the perros, called Magec. And I remember I ran into a homeboy. Shout out to the homeboy Brindle, man. And this vato had fuck Magec real big on the side of his head. And I remember I was like, what did Magec do to you? Oh, mira, tres putos like Spider, rah, right? He's the boogeyman. Right? He was like, nah. He's like, not that fucking Magec, bro. He was like, Magec in Fresno is a task force that's pretty much predominantly made up to fucking go after dogs, right? And, you know, it's because Bulldogs being the largest gang in the area, you would think that they needed a special task force just for them. You know, there's task force in Merced that come up all the time, and they specifically focus on norteños or NF associates or whatever the case may be, you know. But this task force was specifically targeting Bulldogs, and there's a reasoning behind that. You know, as you can tell by that girl on the cover, you know, A Bulldog Story, she played an intricate part into why this happened, okay? And for those of you that are not from Fresno, here's some game. And for those of you that are, I'm sure you can reiterate my story and stamp that one time for your mind. Her name is Stacy Dyer. Okay, Stacy Dyer was actually a Bulldog. Yes, indeed, for those that don't know, Bulldogs do have women in their gang, right? And she was down. She was a perro chata. She was a Bulldog. She was with the homies. She was functioning. Of course, you know, she had several boyfriends that were Bulldogs at one point in time. And she was wiggling them. For those of you that don't know her last name or don't recognize it, again, I say her name is Stacy Dyer. Okay? The chief of the police in Fresno, California is one Jerry Dyer. You understand where I'm going? Okay, so this was his niece. This was actually his niece, and she got caught up in a big case. You know, a big case where her and a few other guys, they were youngsters, 19, 20, 21. They decided to carjack a guy, kidnap him, and kill him, right? And basically they were robbing him for a stereo system. He had a nice stereo system. He was a high school kid, just graduated, man, that was doing pretty good. Wasn't a gang member, wasn't in the mix, had a little bit of money, worked hard for his shit, you know what I mean? Put himself together a nice little system, and for no other reason, these vatos were all sconted out, these perros, and they felt like, you know what? Sasuke, I need some 15s, you know what I mean? Hey, see them rims? Are them 20s? Charlie, homie, those are 15s. They fuck, he keeps them clean though. Vámonos. La verga, right? They went in, they handled their business. And this female was with them. Okay, so the case goes like this. They actually beat this guy up. They snatch him up. They kidnap him, and they put him in the cab of his truck. And a very well-known truck in Fresno. You know, it was a nice little truck he had beat. So they take him to a house where they jump off. And, you know, this guy's probably scared to death, man. They already broke him of his pockets. They already beat him up a little bit. And he's just imagine what he's going through in the back of that cab, you know, handcuffed or whatever they did to him. They have him tied up. He's tripping. Well, these kids, along with Stacy Dyer, the chief of the police of Fresno Police Department's niece, go into a house and decide what they want to do with this individual. You know, they could have easily let him go. They could have easily told him, shut the fuck up, or we're going to kill your family. You know what I mean? There was a lot of different routes they could have taken, but one or two of them decided for no other reason they should smoke him. And that's exactly what they did. They took him out into the, you know, I'm not sure which city, man, right off the top of my head. It's in the surrounding areas out in the country. But they took him out and they shot him. They shot him, and then they threw him in his truck and lit it on fire. Okay? Now, quietly as it's kept, just like any other big case that catches a lot of notoriety, you know, that's a big deal. You know, it was a murder mystery. They end up catching these individuals. Someone tells, a couple of them start telling, people start flipping, and whatever the case may be, a couple of them take deals. And Stacy Dyer didn't take a deal. No, Stacy Dyer, in fact, didn't. And she ended up catching life without the possibility of parole. Okay, and that's very rare to see a female get life without the possibility. But they felt the callousness and the coldness of this crime. Sasuke, watch out, was just way too fucking much, right? And also, you got to understand that they don't like the Fresno Bulldogs in the city of Fresno because they cause a lot of chaos. You know, pretty much any crime that happens in Fresno, a Bulldog got his hand in it. You know what I mean? Them motherfuckers in there like, bow, wow, wow, yippee, yo, yippee, yay, yippee, yo, yippee, yo, yippee, yay. Just, you know what I mean? Oh, atomic, them motherfuckers are involved. You know, and they're just a big gang, man. There's a lot of cliques, a lot of streets, a lot of division, but they're doing their fucking thing. You know, they hold it down in Fresno. That's a well-known fact. So her getting caught up, catching the LWAP, her uncle now is getting some flack. You know, he's having to hear it. He's embarrassed. The vato's pissed. You know, his niece. Does he blame her? Charlie, of course not, man. When it's your niece, you're always going to love your familia. You're always going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You're always going to give them due process and due justice. He blamed it on the perros. right? It's their fucking fault. They weren't on skunting. They're all fucking hitting it. That she would have been fucking righteous, you know what I mean? So it's gay. It was not their fault, Jerry Dyer. She was fucking giving mamones to all the homeboys. That's how it was. They were in that motherfucker like, she was getting it, right? They called that the dog pound. And in that fashion. Anyways, shout out to the pedals. Do your thing. She gets caught up. A few other dogs get caught up. And he starts this vendetta against the Fresno Bulldogs, right? And he starts this task force. And of course, he's going to go to the politician, to the city council, and to these motherfuckers in Fresno that's really doing it, you know what I mean? And tell them one thing. Oh, it's the Bulldogs. They're causing a lot of crime. And Sasuke, we need to take them out. We're going to call Magec because we're going to make them disappear. And there was a cop there named Rambo. For those of you that are from Fresno, you know who I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Rambo was snatching people up. He was a fucking dangerous individual. He was a bad cop. But this guy used the premise of the crime and the Bulldog gang and this and that, kind of like that other Bob also did with Mare Salvatrucha, saying that they were the reason behind this and that. You know, everyone always points the fingers at one particular gang, when in fact, man, it's, hey, bro, if you're the fucking chief of police, take control of your city, man. Handle your business. Don't use what happened to your niece as a premise to go after certain individuals. But this is what happened. You know, it's a fact. It's history. This is what he did. And this Magec group was snatching perros up. You know what I mean? I've ran into a lot of Bulldogs that I'm cool with that were there on cases because they got indicted. This Vato would fucking set them up, man. This Magec task force was throwing dope on them. And, you know, a lot of them righteously, man, were fucking up and they got caught up. You know, of course, this task force was on them. They were looking for any little reason. If you know, if you were caught wearing a Fresno Bulldog hat, and you know, Fresno Bulldog, that whole gang symbolization is derived from the Fresno State University, you know, the college. So of course the fucking the clothes are numerous in Fresno. Everybody wears Bulldog stuff, you know, because it's the college. It's the only thing they got, you know, as far as Fresno State, and they're, you know, they're a well-known school. And, you know, the football team, basketball team, whatever the case may be. But, so these Bulldogs derived that Bulldog mascot from them, and they wear a lot of Bulldog, you know, clothing. But if you were caught wearing Bulldog clothing at this time, man, this Vato was stretching you out. They were giving you gang enhancements, gang paraphernalias, validating people as active gang members. I mean, the list was going on and on because of this vendetta, because what his niece did. Okay, now look. Check it out, Jerry Dyer. It's not your fault. It's not the perro's fault that she was a piruja. It's not even her fault, man. She grew up in Fresno. So it's because she had no choice. Look at the other Jaina, the CO. She was up against the bars like, wow, wow, wow. Motherfuckers was in there like, menudo, right? 11 of those motherfuckers. They were doing their thing. She was up against the bars, right? Go to her Instagram. They were winning, right? Real talk. But I mean, that's just Fresno for you. It's a grimy city. It's with the business, you know, it always has been. But I just thought that for no other reason, I should let the gente know out there that don't know these stories, man, because this story pertains to a lot of other cities. I'm sure a lot of things like this have happened, but this is well known, well documented, because I'm telling you, this guy Jerry Dyer, this chief of police, man, this Bob also had it out for the dogs. And I even knew, even back then, when I would see a lot of perros get caught up, I was like, man, these vatos don't play about you guys. You know, how do you guys wiggle in the city of Fresno, knowing that this task force Magec, all these cops, you know, Rambo and his whole little crew of cops are on your guys' heads like that, and they say, we move viciously with a purpose. I said, orale, okay, and in that fashion. But at the same time, man, you had to understand that every little step they took, you know what I mean, on some Bobby Brown shit, motherfuckers are gonna be there. You know what I mean? And it was the Magec task force. I mean, I tell you, vatos were going as far as getting it on their head, blasting, fuck Magec. They felt some type of way. You know, it was basically like us against them and them against us. You know, it's funny because you have your traditional enemigas, the norteños, and there's norteños there, the sureños, and this task force wasn't fucking focused on them. That's how they were able to thrive and stay around in the city. Because quietly as it's kept, man, you know, me being an ex-norteño and having a lot of love for the North as well as the South, man, a lot of fucking love. I know better than to tell you that these gangs would have thrived in the city of Fresno without assistance. That wouldn't have happened, bro. These Bulldogs are numerous. They're fucking deep. You know what I mean? So that's even when I go there, I'm like, what are they? I go down Blackstone like, you know what I mean? Fucking put a muzzle on these motherfuckers one time. There's barking all over. Hey, what's up, dog? Order. Okay, all right. Of course, I'm loved in Fresno, man. I got nothing but love from Fresno. But at the same time, I'm just saying anyone that wiggles through that city, be prepared to hear a little bit of barking and feel a whole lot of biting because they're getting with it. So I didn't understand how these gangs could thrive. And now I see they got the assistance of the actual police department, Fresno Police Department, based on this Placa had a vendetta against the dogs. And him being in the position as the chief of police, he couldn't be stopped. You know, so he put together this task force. He was tripping and it was all bad. But the cool part about it is his niece is still functioning. You know, of course, you know, when women go to prison, man, it's a total different story. And I'm going to do a spill on that one of these days, you know, about how how the women function within the, you know, the California Department of Corrections, as well as other states, you know, because, hey, it's not really a gang-related atmosphere. They're more on, you know what I mean? But we'll talk about that later. It's all relationship shit. The queens of Beverly Hills, or the housewives. Housewives of Fresno. But she held her mud. She stood solid. She took the LWOP, you know what I mean? Life without the possibility of parole. And she continues to be incarcerated, you know? I've seen some things in the newspaper where she's changed her life. She's gotten her shit together. She was young, and you gotta understand, you gotta give everyone a chance. But she don't got that coming. You know, maybe if laws change, she was a first-term offender, maybe things could lean her way. But, you know, as of right now, it's not pretty, you know? But this fucking cop, man, what he did to the raza out there in Fresno, you know, and regardless of what people may think, I fuck them fools, they were just bulldogs. They're still raza, you know, and that was a form of oppression. Okay, so all right, look, if you want to put a task force together, you're the cops, you're doing your job. You're cops, they're robbers. It's understandable. You're supposed to get them, and ain't nothing new, right? But when you have a personal vendetta, and you're trying to utilize the taxpayers' money and the police department to further your agenda, well, guess what? You want to settle the score. Well, C4 at your door, no beef, no more. Bang, bang, right? Motherfuckers started to bite back. These Fresno Bulldogs started to go out there and kill cops. They started to bite back because, you know, when you're feeling oppressed, there's only one thing you do, and that's to take up arms and handle your business, you know? You could only run for so long. Who can I run to? There's nowhere to fucking run. And knowing that these Fresno Bulldogs are in Fresno, now don't get it twisted, man. I've seen Bulldogs in every city. They wiggle, but they're not establishing their gang in all these different cities, you know? They're pretty, and we used to say, and the skipper to the millionaire con his wife. We used to say they're over there on Gilligan's Island in Fresno. They ain't going nowhere. It's Fresno County pretty much, and that's where they stay, you know what I mean? And quality has kept, a lot of Bulldogs ain't got to go nowhere. There's fucking popping clubs. There's bitches. They got everything they want there. They hit the mall one time for their mind. They're chilling in their city amongst their own in their island living. You know, Vatos know better to go in, because once you go in, sometimes it's hard to come out. And that's what it is. It's grimy. It's dirty. It's fucking Fresno. But guess what? They love the No Town, and they're going to continue as such. And you can't be mad at them. You know, it's their town. But we used to say that. The Vatos over there at fucking Gilligan's Island. Watch the island of Dr. Moreau. Like that motherfucker on fire. One time for their mind. You know, we were anti-dogs at one point. You know, and that's just what it was. You know, that was what was getting fed into our head. But this fucking cop, right, basically had it out for them, man. And took a lot of good gente, a lot of good raza. You know, Vatos that were youngsters, man, yeah, they might have fucked it. They might have got caught with a little pistol. What do you expect, man? It's dangerous in the city of Fresno. You got to arm up one time. You know what I mean? You need that cuerno chivo one time for your mind. That drumstick. You know what I mean? To make it happen. You know, that candy coated raindrop. You feel me? That 9mm. But, you know, most times you get caught, slap on the wrist, bam, you go in, catch a couple years, maybe do some county time, get out, and to bang another day. But this Vato was stretching them out, getting them on the gun, getting them on the bullets, getting them on the gang enhancement. Your Bulldogs, checking them for dog paws, man. Several times I was in the city of Fresno and I seen the Magec task force have Bulldogs snatched up. And I mean, just fucking pulling them butt naked in the middle of the city, looking for any type of dog paw or any type of symbolization so they could validate them and stretch them out. You know, and it was cold because on the next corner you had Sureños over there. They was over there fucking bing da bang. You know what I mean? Neighborhood music, kicking back neighborhood music. They were doing their thing. Bands up, blue Cortezes. You know what I mean? The Bulldogs over there like, man, fuck them fools. Goes around the brown side of town. You know, they were all snatched up. And like I said, man, that was one man's vendetta against this one organization, and it continues, you know, from what I hear, you know, from a few homeboys. Of course, it's calmed down in the years. People got hip to the skip, hip to the cut, hip to the chase, and they know what time it is with this Jerry Dyer. But that's basically what it's based on, man. You know, when it's all said and done, it's because he had a niece who was actually from the Bulldogs who got caught up on the case that she did. You know, had nothing to do with the federals. You know, they just happened to fucking do some dirt. Could have been anybody. But, and then he took it out on that organization, you know. So for those of you that don't know, I just wanted to put that story out there for the gente, for the people. It's a crazy story when it was told to me. I kind of vetted it, researched it for a while, and it is what it is, man. It's the truth. And like I said, even before I knew any of this shit, Stacy, Dyer, whatever the fuck, I always used to talk to the homeboys from Fresno and be like, damn, that chief of police goes hard on you. Every time I would see him in press conferences or on TV or in the newspapers or whatever the case may be, he always had the perros in their mouth. Bulldog. You know, he was a true dog hater. I myself, at one point in time, could care less. But now, as I got older, I don't see him as Bulldogs. I see him as raza, you know what I mean? I see him as my gente. I see him as my people. And I see a form of oppression. And I'm totally against that. Anyways, man, I hope that you guys move fast with a purpose. I hope that at the end of the day, you guys get everything that you want coming. That's called hustling, man. Get up, get out, and get something. You know what it is? Hey, if you're feeling like a sucker, man, go ahead and brush your shoulders off and do what you do. You know what I mean? Not everyone's seen you, so not everyone knows. Do your thing. And in that being said, I wanted to say, man, you know, gracias for the gente that have liked, subscribed, tapped in. You know, this is my second channel. My first channel got the cancelization was real, you know, due to hating. But this one right here is the bread and butter, man. This is the one that is for the people, by the people. We're going to make it happen. Captain Crunch, you already know what time it is. So, man, stay liking, man. Hit that notification button. You know, if you like it, subscribe. You know, every little bit helps, and, you know, I can continue to bring this fire content. If you haven't went and checked out my new podcast with Senor Rojo, it is the Collectives podcast. Go like and subscribe that. Trip out on it, man. We're talking a whole lot of different shit. Over here's a whole lot of gang shit. Over there's a whole lot of crazy shit. You know what I mean? We're going to have a lot of interaction, so it's going to be all good. At the end of the day, both these channels are banging and booming. Convicts Perspective, they're doing their thing. You already know. With that being said, the gun. Bang fucking bang bang.